So I just want to show you how to do the embellishing, the encasing of these lovely cabochons. I found this cabochon on one of our buying trips last year, and I immediately fall in love with it because the possibilities are endless. As they are double-sided, there's a really nice ridge right into the middle where you can bead so easily, and you can do your netting almost on the cabochon straight away. We had a couple of designs. This one is the one with the tree. I love this one so much. And the new one, what we will be doing today, is this one with the margarita flowers and the white lace flowers as well. I love them all because inside of these cabochons are real flowers. They pick them, they dry them, they dye them, and they capture them between the two glass. And they're just a really great, very unique pendant to do. So to do this, you're gonna need 3 different sizes of seed beads. You're gonna need size 8, size 11, and size 15. And just move this out of the way so you can see. Thread your needle. I'm using a couple of arm span. I'm also leaving the bobbin on, so if I need more thread, I can just unreel more later on and start beading the other side. So you're going to start by picking up 55 of these size 8 seed beads. Now it has to be precise, so please make sure you got 55 beads. Make sure you got exactly 55. I like to, once I taken my beads down, I just double check them, that because if you got 54 or 56, the pattern is not going to work. So it's quite crucial to start with the right number of these. So that's, I got 55 there, definitely. And I'm just going to pop these size 8s on the side because I'm not going to need them anymore. We're going to work with the 11s and the 15s in a minute. So first you need to make a band. So I'm going to go through all of these seed beads one more time in the same direction as I've been before to form a loop. And I want to get all the way around so I get to the tail. And then I'm going to knot the tail and my working thread together to give me a really good strong base. And just keep going around. This is when you do something like this, it's great to have a longer needle because you can sew through more beads at the same time. Following my thread path. There we go, and just a few more to go through. That's it. So now I'm gonna knot my tail and my working thread together, bring it up nice and tight, and then finish the knot. Now I'm going to go through a few beads because I want to work away from my tail. The size 8 seed beads got quite a large hole, so even though your knot can sink into one of the beads, don't worry because you will still be able to go through it at a later stage. Just go through a few beads to work away from the tail. Then I'm gonna get my cabochon. I like to bead on the front of it first, and then I do the back. So I'm just gonna pop this on, and just quite nice and easily, all those beads gonna go on there. Now, if you just wanted to make a cabochon with one row of beads like this, and just add a little loop at the top, you can, but in that case, because I think it looks quite nice just with one row of beads. These could be pearls or crystals, and any small sort of maximum 3mm size beads. I suggest that you add a glue into this ridge, and then you pull your beads over it and let it set in, so you got a nice and strong setting there. Otherwise, if you just leave it like that, the ridge holds the beads, but it can fall off. So if you just want one line of beads, glue it in. But we're gonna go ahead and do a netting around here. So if I just show you in a finished now sample, this netting gets smaller and smaller as we work up in the rows, and that's what holds this. So I can't get this out of it anymore because those beads are getting smaller and smaller rows and holding the cabochon down. So first we're going to work with the 11s. So I'm just going to pour some out here. It doesn't matter what bead are you coming out from, you're going to pick up 5 of these size 11 seed beads. Now I like to work with them in all the same color because I think it makes a really nice, you know, when it like continuous sort of beading, and you don't really see the sizes sort of going up and down so much when you do use the same color. But if you wished, you could do this in different colors as well. So I picked up 5 of these seed beads, take it all the way down, then locate the bead where you're coming out from before you put these 5 seed beads in, and a count 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going through the 5th one. It doesn't matter which direction you're going to travel as long as you go all around the same. Now because we put 55 beads on our base row, and then be going through every 5 beads, that's going to give us 11 sets of beads. So all we're doing at the moment, just adding these little loops to the top. So I'm going to show you again, I'm going to pick up 5 of this size 11 seed beads. I'm going to locate the bead I'm coming out from, then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 and go through this 5th one and pull it up. And when I'm pulling it up, just make sure it sits nicely on the top. So repeat this until you get all the way around. I'm just adding my last 5 beads, and I'm going through the last bead on my row, which is actually the first bead before I started to add the loops. So this is when you find out if you added the right amount of beads on there, or if you've gone through every 5th one. Now here, I'm not just going through the size 8 seed beads, I'm going to go into the loop. So I'm going to go through the first 3 seed beads. I need to step up to be able to add the next row. So I'm going to go through the first 3 seed beads of the first loop added. So I went through the last size 8 and the first 3 seed beads added. Now if this happens that your beading comes off, it's not a problem, just pop it back on. Once we properly covered one side and turn it to the other side, it's gonna stop happening. So now I'm just gonna put the size 11s to the side because I'm gonna work with the 15s in our next row. So here, as I'm coming out of the middle, which is the 3rd seed bead on my first loop, I want to connect this middle bead with the middle bead in the next loop, the 3rd seed beads of the next loop. So I'm going to pick up 7 size 15 seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and simply just go through that 3rd middle seed bead on the 2nd loop I created and pull that up. So you can see we are moving on the top of the cabochon now. I'm going to show you one more time. Picking up 7 seed beads, size 15s. So we're moving, as you're moving down in size as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. And I'm just going through the 3rd middle seed bead on the next loop and pull this up. So repeat this again until you get all the way around. adding the last loop here, so I'm going through the third seed beads on the first loop. At the same time, I'm going to go through all 7 of the size 15 seed beads added in this second loops we added, because I need to be able to step up to tighten the middle a little bit more. So I'm just going to go through this, pull this up, there we go. Pull this up nice and straight. Now what I want to do now is, as you can see, between your every 7 seed bead, you can see this size 11 seed bead sort of poking through. So I'm just going to go and pick up one size 15 seed bead and go through the next 7 size 15 seed beads we just added to cover up that size 11 bead. And every single time I do that, I just pull, sort of, I'm pulling my beads together, my rows together, reinforcing that middle row there, and at the same time making my diameter of beading smaller and smaller. Just picking up another one. Now once I've done this, usually I go around a second time, or as long as my beads let me, because the size 15s have significantly smaller holes, but I'm not going to do that just yet. So I just want to add these beads in. So pick up a bead, go through all 7 size 15, pick up another one, and once I go around, I'm going to work my way into the middle. So you're going to follow any thread path, but I'll just show you in a minute when I get there. And we're going to add the loops on the other side the same as we just did here, tighten up the other side, then we're going to come back here and tighten up this middle row one more time to really make sure that beads are holding that cabochon in place there. I think I only have 2 more beads to add, 3. As you can see, it grows quite quickly with netting. It's such a lovely way to encase a cabochon or rivoli or anything, because it goes much quicker than when you look at solid like a peyote stitch. So I did every single little size 15 seed bead on top of the size 11 there. So now I'm just gonna go and work my way into the middle. Now here I want to make sure that I like to, don't have to, this is entirely up to you, but I like to make sure I mirror my front to my back, which means I'm coming out the same seed bead, the same size 8 seed bead when I'm adding the loops. So if I show you in a different color as well, whether is it finished. So what I mean is the 5 seed beads we added on the top of the size 8s, I want them coming out from the same size 8 bead in the same position on both sides to give you like a nice even netting. So I'm coming out one of the size 8 beads where I came out before. Then I'm going to pick up my 5 size 11s and go through the next size 8. Now when you're doing this side, because those size 8 beads have been slightly sort of pulled up when we did the netting on that side, just make sure if this little loops don't sit quite right, don't worry about it. Just make sure you pull it up, and when we go in with the second row, they will pull and close in on each other. So picked up another 5, and I'm going through the next size 8, and again just pull it up nice and tight and carry on until you get all the way around. just came through the last size 8 seed bead to add all of this, all the 5 seed beads on the top of it. So I need to step up, so I'm gonna go into the first 3 seed beads on the first loop here and just pull this up, and then we're doing the same thing here we did on the other side. We're gonna pick up 7 of these size 15 seed beads and do exactly the same, go through the middle bead in the next, on the next loop. And when I'm pulling this up, and I like to keep this nice and tight, so when I pull this up, I make sure those beads sort of come and sit up nice and on the top of the cabochon. And I also like to hold a tight tension, so I pull it tight and then I hold the working thread down with my thumb so it can't, because if I let it go it will travel back, you see. So I'm holding a nice and tight tension, holding the thread down there for the minute until I pick up the rest of the beads and for the next loop I need to pick up. And I'm gonna go to the next middle, but I'm still holding that thread down. I'm gonna go to the next middle seed bead, and when I'm pulling it up, I'll let that go and let them all come up. That's it. So, and you're gonna repeat this all the way around. So I'm gonna pick up another 7 little seed beads and go through the next middle one. So do this until you get all the way around. Make sure keep a tight tension every single time pulling your loops up. If you have to, sort of slightly rearrange it with your finger, push it down. Once we went all the way around, it will stay in place. I'm just adding my last loop, so I'm gonna straight go through the 7 little seed beads added on the first loop to step up, and I'm gonna repeat exactly the same thing I did on the other side. Make sure this is nice and tight, just pull it right up, adding 1 little size 15 seed beads there to cover up those size 11s. So just gonna go around, and this time around, because you already got the beading on this side, we can pull it tighter each time we go. And also, once I went all the way around, I'm gonna try to go around as much as I can one more time. Bear in mind that size 15s do have a small hole, so if your needle doesn't want to go through easily, then don't force it, because you can break the bead. Then just weave your thread to the other side. So I'm gonna add 1 seed bead to cover up that size 11 and to have a sort of a continuous size 15s in the middle row. And then I'm gonna go around again, and I'll show you how to do the bail after that. hand one more time again to pull, and you pull it really tight so you can see how much it's sort of lifted into the middle, towards the middle, and then really holding that cabochon down. So this is the back of my pendant, and now I'm gonna weave my thread back to the front, what we did first, and go around these inner beads one more time to really tighten them up as well. And that will straighten. If your sort of any of your little loops look wonky, when you go around in the middle again, that will straighten all of them up. But I'm just going straight over to the other side. I'm going to go through all of these beads, and then I will show you how to add the bell. So just go around here. We are back in the front now. Every single time when you go around, you're going around the 7 seed beads plus that one little seed bead you added last, and every single time you go through some, you pull it really tight. I mean relatively tight, because if you pull too much, you know, you can snap, but you really need to keep a tight tension here. So go around, and I see in a minute how to do the bell. So I got to the top here, and I just managed to put my needle into this 15 seed beads, but it's really tight. So I'm actually going to turn around, and I'm not going to go through those. I'm going to go into my size 11s and into the middle. Now, where you want to add the bell, it's either at the top or the bottom. It doesn't really matter, as your pendant kind of like the same, but you can decide if you're going to add it here or you're going to add it here. Weave your thread around. So if you want to, I'm saying this is going to be my top, I want to weave it around at the top. But before I do that, I just want to show you a little trick. So we want one section be right in the middle of our pendant, because that's the bell going to sit on top of that. So if this is slightly off center, what you can do is to hold your pendant with your thumb and your index finger, and you hold the beading around it with your other hand, with your thumb and your index finger, and simply just turn it very slightly. It will move just a tiny bit, as much as you need it to move, and I think I'm right in the center there. So I'm going to weave my thread up. I'm going to go through all of my size 8s until I get up to the top, and I need to go into this loop. I need to go into the first 3 seed beads. I'm just going to go through the next few size 8s and just keep going around. I mean, it's when you made this, it gets a little bit trickier to get around the size 8s, because obviously your beadwork is tightened onto the cabochon, but do sort of be patient with it and make sure that you're coming out of a bead and not going next to the bead. But the size 8's got really large holes, so you can go through it quite a few times. I'm just, oh, I didn't go through that. Yep, making sure I'm coming through all of those beads. So I just need to go through 1, 2, 3 of the size 8, and making sure I'm going to come out the right place so I can go into that loop. So it doesn't matter where you start your bell, the front or the back, it's gonna look nice either way. And I'm gonna go through the first 3 seed beads of that size 11 loop. Now I'm gonna pick up 16 size 11 seed beads. Now, it depending on how big you want to make this bale. If you want to, I think this is sort of an average size. This is maybe an 8-9 millimeter sort of bale there. But if you want to make it bigger, then you can pick up 18 or even 20 or 22 beads. If you want to make it smaller, then you need to pick up less beads, but you always need to pick them up in pairs, because we're going to do sort of a little band of peyote stitch here. It has to be an even number. So I got 16. Take this all the way down. Now I'm going to take my, as I'm at the front here, I'm going to turn my pendant over and go through this third seed bead on the opposite loop and just pull this up nice and tight. So we got like a little band of beads here. Now, if it's easier for you, you can always get a pen or something to stick it into the bale while you're working on the first couple of rows, just to sort of, you got something to hold on to here and you know what direction you're going to. That's sort of quite a thicker crochet hook or a thicker knitting needle, anything will do. So as we went through this third seed bead, we're going to pick up another size 11, and looking at your loop, you're going to miss this first seed bead and you need to go through the second one, but only the second one. And when I pull this up, you're going to see that seed bead and the last one on that loop is just going to sit side by side. Then we're going to pick up another seed bead, locate it's where you're coming out from, miss one on your bale and go through the next one. And just pull this up nice and tight. And then another seed bead. Again, we're going to miss one and go through the next one. And you're going to do this all the way around until you get to the other side. Picking up a seed bead, missing a seed bead, going through the next one. Now the first row, well, this is actually the second row, you're coming back on it, can look a little bit sort of crooked, but don't worry, once you add a row on either side, it's gonna all even up and it's gonna look really nice. So I'm almost at the back. I got to add another couple more. So I missed this one, go through the next one. And I'm coming through the last seed bead on that bale, the last one which we picked up. Now if you're beading looking a little bit sideways again, don't worry, but this is, if you have got a pen on it, this is where it comes really handy because it will keep them in the straight way. So as you coming through the last bead here where you added your bale, and you were coming at the third seed bead on the loop on the cabochon, have a look what side you came out from when you added the loop, when you went sort of toward the back, because we're back at the front now. So if your seed bead, if this loop is attached to that seed bead on the right hand side or on the left hand side, it doesn't matter, but make sure you go through from the opposite end, because what we're trying to do here, just take this pen out, what we're trying to do here is to make sure that band of seed beads is attached to that third seed bead from both sides. So I can't really pull it out much, but I hope you can see that is the thread path is on both sides of that seed bead. Then what we're going to do, you're going to need to continue one more seed bead on the cabochon itself. So as we were coming out, as we went through the third one, we just need to go to the fourth one. Then we're going to pick up one size 11 and we're going to turn up and go through our band one more time. Now you can see some of the seed beads are sticking out more than others, so it will be easier now to know which one you're going through, because you're just going through the one which is sort of stick out the most. So I'm leaving the first one on its own, I'm going through the second one, which is stick out, picking up another one, leaving the third one alone, and going through the fourth one, which is stick out, and pull this up. So as you can see, those seed beads are sort of falling into place, and do this all the way around. Just going up through these seed beads, filling those little gaps, pulling it nice and tight. Nice and tight. And when I pick up the last one, I'm going to go through the last one of two seed beads on the bail itself. And then we need to turn our thread around. Just make sure, if I put the pen back for you so you can see it easier. So let's pull this up nice and tight. So the way how I like to do this bail is I'm adding one row on this side, then I'm gonna go through the second, third and fourth seed bead on the loop on the cabochon, and I come back through on this side, because I could start on one end and sort of peyote my way across, but by doing this you're only adding a few rows here, so you're able to jump from one side to another. You get a more even bail, so it will be even on both sides. So as I went through the last bead on the bail, I'm going to go through the second, third, you won't be able to do it sort of in one go, and the fourth I need to go to. And then I'm back into the first bead on the bail. I'm going to move my way around again. So I just went through the first bead on the bail, then I'm going to pick up a size 11 and fill the gaps all the way along. Pick up one, go through the next one, and repeat this all the way around. Make sure you keep a nice and good tension. Just like so. Now what I like to do at the end, because when we have a bail like this, I don't really like to see the row edge of a peyote stitch. Let me just get all the way down and show you what I mean. Because obviously one bead is sticking out more than the other. So to counteract that, what we can do is to add smaller beads. So I'm just picking up the last size 11. Again, I'm gonna go through the second and the third and the fourth seed bead on the loop on the cabochon itself of the 5 seed beads. And I'm gonna come back through the first seed bead on my bail. But let me just show you what I mean about sort of the edge. So if I added more rows of 11s, you would still see this sort of zigzaggy, a brick-like edge. And if I show you on a finished piece, because I added those size 15s, you get a more of a clear edge there, which I think it just sort of those little things makes your pendant look like a little bit more professional. So I'm gonna go in through the first seed bead on the bail. Again, I'm going through the other side, and this time instead of adding size 11s, I'm going to add size 15, and this is the last row what we're doing the bail. And why is it great as well? Because it pulls the side of your bails together, so you get sort of a rounded top edge as well, and I just think it makes it looks like so much prettier. Just keep adding those size 15s all the way around. Just a few more. Picking up the last one. Again, I'm gonna go through the second, third and fourth seed bead on the loop on the cabochon itself to turn my thread around. And as I do this, I'm just pulling it tight, and you can see that it's pulled this side of the pendant nice and straight and tighter. Oh, and fourth, and then I'm picking up a size 15 and coming back on myself, adding one on this side as well, into every one of those little gaps where the size 11 shows you. I love peyote stitch. Peyote stitch is probably one of my favorite stitches because it's so versatile. You can do a lot of things with it, and it's go perfect like this netting, encasing the cabochon with netting. It goes perfectly with that. And just a couple more to add now. So make sure this is nice and tight. One more seed bead. I'm right on the front. Pull this up as well so you can see we got a nice edge to that bell. Now all is left to do is I like to thread my take my thread back to the middle into the size 8 seed beads. So I'm just going to go to that one size 11 on the cabochon itself and go through a few of the size 8s. Now you can either work your thread off with a 1 thread knot, but what I like to do is to take this towards my tail and knot my tail and my working thread together again to securing it completely down. Just going through a few more size 8s. And then never cut your, once you get there and knot your tail and working thread together, never cut your any of your threads right next to the knot, because then the knot can come undone, and then I guess your bracelet or jewelry or necklace or pendant, anything you do can come undone as well. So what I always do, and just line this up with the end, is I knot my thread together and then take my needle back into the next few beads, just a few beads will do, and then cut the thread. That's it. So just knot your threads together and take it off, take it through a few more beads, and then you can trim your end. And that's to it really. I love them because they're so colorful and you can do so many different things with it. I mean, if you didn't want to turn it into a pendant, you could have just sort of leave the encasing around it and attach into a necklace itself. There is a lot you can do with it, but that's how you encase your Everbloom Cabochons. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Check out the other videos on this playlist to learn more techniques just like this.